Take your place in the Coaching Lounge. Be inspired by discussions with motivational guests, compelling speakers, key people of influence, and models of success. Learn unique processes, strategies, and tips that will transform your life. Tune into previous episodes on www.thecoachinglounge.co.uk. Like our page on Facebook via The Coaching Lounge. Follow us on Twitter @SatelliteCoach. Thank you for joining your host, Rebecca Gordon, in The Coaching Lounge. Tune in, relax, engage, and transform your life now. I really appreciate that you have taken the time to join me, your host, Rebecca Gordon, in the Coaching Lounge. And if this is your first time tuning into our podcasts, you can access previous shows by visiting www.thecoachinglounge.co.uk. You can also find out about our winter season special on coaching sessions by visiting www.satellitelifecoaching.com. And please also connect with me on Twitter @SatelliteLife and Facebook @SatelliteLifeCoaching. So, as I've said, I'm Rebecca Gordon, and if you've heard my shows before, you will know that I have various roles. I'm a mother, I'm a recent grandmother to a little girl called Nitiru. Her name means divine, and it's the collective name given to the gods of ancient Egypt. I'm also a tutor. I teach English language, and I'm also a life coach in my other role. And in this role as a coach, I support clients to raise new perspectives in order to transition through their challenges. And as I work with clients, I recognize just how easy it is for not just clients, but for us, for everyone. It's easy to become overpowered and to really become bogged down by the stresses and complexities of life, so much so that we just cannot see any possible way forward. And I know that resonates with many people. I've had a recent bereavement, and in that bereavement I've been experiencing some stresses, the complexities of dealing with the estate, and it does seem sometimes that you're just wondering when this is all going to end. Now, today's show is very special because I am joined by Clint Warren, who shares his inspirational story on the mindset, motivation, and actions that moved him out of his stresses and complexities into a really empowered state as the CEO of his own thriving and successful agency. And in particular, it's going to be important for you to hear the complexities that Clint was involved in his previous life, involving crime and self-destruction, just so that we get an understanding of his way of moving through all of that to get to where he is now. So today's show is called You Will Get Through This. And by the end of this show, no matter the adverse or unfavorable experiences or situations you're experiencing, I want you to be encouraged to know that you will get through this. Clint Warren, welcome to the Coaching Lounge. Please take your seat.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's great to be here.
It's great having you here with us, and our contact has come about through Cloris Kyle, who I interviewed, and she interviewed me a few weeks ago. And you're here now because you took motivated and massive action to, want to share your story with listeners here in the UK, and we do also have an international audience. So, Clint, let's just get straight into it, please. In fact, before we get straight into it, I must ask you where in the States you're from.
I'm from Connecticut.
And what's the weather like today?
Well, the weather is kind of rainy. It's kind of depressing because, well, I don't want to say depressing. Seasons come and go, but now we've moved out of the summer. It's getting darker earlier. It's getting a little
Yes,
colder, so
yes,
it is what
yes.
it is.
Yeah. And I mean, it's November. We're coming into, the busy Christmas period
Yeah,
and into the new year. And I
yeah,
think your show is perfectly timed because really, I do believe that we actually need to be thinking about our way forward, our transitions, our future
totally.
before January comes around. It needs to be now, doesn't
Absolutely.
it? Yeah.
Absolutely. I would say if there's the one biggest thing is like, there is no tomorrow. If you want to make change, you have to do it now.
It's
Totally.
about now, exactly. And on that note, I'm actually interested to know what caused you to make a change. So before that change came about, tell us what was going on in your life, please.
Yeah, so I'll give you sort of a quick recap. I struggled most of my life with drug and alcohol problems. It started in high school, and I will say that people ask, how did I get involved in drugs and all that initially? I had kind of I call it the trifecta. I had the man on my mom's side of the family had some genetic predisposition to alcoholism. But from a very young age, even like getting into food or anything, I would consume things until I got sick. If I put something in me that causes pleasure, I'm going to consume it until either my body shuts down or I run out, and I will find more. But I also had this like insatiable curiosity, so I get just got really involved in drugs, and it very quickly escalated to very hard drugs. I through most of my 20s was really a lot of arrests, overdoses, humiliating, experiences, a lot of defeat, culminating in my arrest in 2011 for trafficking marijuana. With being involved in drugs and things like that came some, regrettable decisions.
Hmm.
Um, and that was really the turning point. You get to a point in your life where for me, I can only speak from my experience. I was just at a point where I just failed so many times, and I remember sitting in jail, facing what could have potentially been 7 years in prison, and I just said, I'm better than this."
Hmm.
I don't know. I'd been beaten
Hmm.
down so many times, but I realized I have so much more to offer and give, and I want to start living up to that potential.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I interviewed Marnie Spencer Devlin, and she was telling me about her time in prison. And
Yep.
I don't know, I don't think she spent, 7 years. It was probably a few less years.
Yep.
But one of the things she said, and I'm going to ask you this. I mean, prison is and it's such an environment that there's a lot of thinking time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Totally.
So I'm just wondering because you said you made regrettable decisions before, that time,
Of
which,
course.
took you into, you
Yep.
went into prison. So the thing is, in that thinking time, I'm just wondering how what thoughts manifested for the change. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't just one day you just thought, okay, well, I've got to be better than this. I mean,
Right.
I'm
No.
interested in the
No.
process.
Yeah, totally. So
Yeah.
let me just clarify one thing too. So I was arrested and I was put in jail initially, then I was bailed out. It took a year and a half for the courts to make a decision. And in that time, they reduced my sentence from 7 years to 10 months. The
Right.
only thing that was a big contributing factor is that I made such a commitment to helping other people with drug and alcohol problems that the courts recognized that I was really committed to turning my life around. So
Okay. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
terms of a lot of the systems and stuff, the biggest thing hands down was after I got bailed out of jail, I went to rehab, and that represented to me, I mean, that was like the biggest limiting belief in my life, that I was fairly convinced that I was just going to be found in an alley somewhere, with a needle in my arm or something. That's how I figured my life was going to end, and that I whatever I did, it was just so tough to run away from this, limiting belief that I was a drug addict and I couldn't do anything about it. Really, this feeling of helplessness. So by going to rehab and eliminating what was And I didn't realize how much it crippled me at the time.
Right.
I mean, I did and I didn't. Removing that from my life suddenly opened up all these opportunities, and I saw my life really improving day after day. And from that, once that limiting belief and that crippling, destructive habit was removed, now I could focus on developing habits. I always say, like, I lived most of my life as a slave to bad habits. I just became a slave to good ones. So
Mm.
I replaced getting up and popping pills and stuff with meditating. I replaced, um, a lot of habits with now, journaling and yoga, and just continuously focusing on how I could just continue to improve myself, knowing that I didn't have something always around the corner that was going to set me back, caused by drugs.
Okay. So I'm hearing that critically, you looked at the worst case scenarios and
Yep.
thought to yourself, well, actually, I don't want to go down that road. So that
Yep.
became the catalyst for you to move into meaningful activities. You actually took action, which needs to happen, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it was like a lot of people have different terms for it. You could call it rock bottom or whatever. I mean, for
Yeah.
me, I really needed to have you would think that overdosing several times and being resuscitated would be rock bottom. For many people, it might be. For me, it really took losing my freedom to come to that point. And I hope and pray that for many people they don't have to get to that point. But that was what it took to
Right.
really say, I never want to put myself in this situation again. I don't want to keep letting people down. I don't want to keep letting myself down. Life is way too short for that.
Okay. And I'm just going to repeat this quote, which I will be using myself, and it is the quote by Clint Warren: "Become a slave to good habits."
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, okay. So, you've touched on this already, but I would just like you to perhaps go into a little bit more depth or recap, perhaps. Tell me, yes, you've given me some good lessons you've learned in prison. What other good lessons came about?
Yeah, so I ended up going to prison in 2013, and I just want to, one thing that was nice is that I had a year and a half to build a life for myself and recognize what I was capable of if I kept my head on straight. And I knew that there was a beautiful life waiting for me on the other side. So this was kind of the last step in putting my past behind me. So I went into prison stronger than I'd ever been mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I told myself I'm going to come out even stronger. I'm not just going to like sit and maintain. And in many ways, there are a couple lessons that I want to touch on. The first, that in many ways, prison is like a microcosm of society at whole. You're in very close quarters with so many other men, and some men choose to spend their entire days laying on their bunk and watching TV, and others, like myself, spend all day writing, reading, reflecting, meditating, journaling. And I really asked myself, who am I? Who am I? I'm the person who, no matter what, I'm going to do something with my day to make it productive and contribute and move it forward. Um, and there was just such, the biggest compliment you can receive in prison is, if you want to call it that, is you know how to do your own time. And for me, that's sort of a philosophy I have in life in general. You keep your head down, you focus on bringing out the absolute best in yourself and those around you. And you don't get caught up in the noise and the BS, the negativity and drama, which so many
Mm,
people do. You see it every day where people just, they gossip, they blame other people. I just sought to like be the light and shine, and I didn't seek to like accumulate power. I want to radiate it and inspire and lead other people. That's what I did in there. It's what I continue to do. And people ask me, is it a dangerous environment, this and that? Like me personally, I approach everyone and everything with love. And at no point did I ever threatened or in a situation, because I approach everyone with love. And it just really emphasized to me. I mean, I was in there with some hard guys who've, were wrapping up a 30-year bid for killing somebody. But if you approach them with love and compassion in your heart, everyone has a story that they want to share, and we can learn something from everybody.
mhm.
So the other critical lessons for me was just practicing gratitude. And, there's a big difference between like saying you're grateful for something, but really practicing it. And I would sit in there every day. It's a practice I had done before going in, but, really emphasized to me, I'd be sitting in there on my bunk in the morning after I'd meditate. and I was just thankful because I was healthy. I could
Mm,
breathe. I had my whole life ahead of me. What's interesting is that in so many ways, it took going to prison to realize that I was free, because I lived the majority of my life imprisoned in addiction. And we all have these imprisoning beliefs in our head that can really hold us hostage.
that is true.
When
So actually, we can be in prison outside of that establishment.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And when I was in there, felt totally free, because the things that really mattered, my mind, my body, and my spirit, were completely free, and I had complete control over them. So it also reinforced in many ways, my mission, which was really just helping others, whether it's one-on-one or in groups. I worked with guys in the job center,
Right.
and just tried to help people and realize how fulfilling that was.
Okay, I'm going to touch on that in a moment. In a
Yep.
moment, yes. And
Yeah.
what I'm hearing actually is that one of the things, or some of the things that got you through, a wealth of things got you through, but you had to be disciplined. You had to be focused. To
Yes.
shut off the things that were not supporting you, to
Yep.
move into those things that you knew were
Yep.
self-supportive, and only
Totally.
you could do that. That was just down to you, and you did it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I mean, it was, I'd ask myself, so I wrote out a whole business plan for my WordPress educational business. I would visualize every day my success on the outside, and I'd ask myself every day, what's one thing I can do right now to really move myself forward? It was working out, it was writing out this business plan, these visualizations, these goals, and things like that.
Okay, so let me ask you then, because I know that you actually devised a physical fitness program whilst in prison.
Yep.
The question is, and I want this to be explained because sometimes, we go to the gym or we don't recognize that we've got to keep our energy moving and the
Yeah.
whole thing that physical fitness does to your well-being. So, how did that contribute to your overall well-being whilst in prison?
I mean, to me, that was like one of the highlights of my day. I had a background as a personal trainer. I've always been, into health and fitness, even at times when I let myself go. Um, to me, that was my time. Working out was very meditative for me, and it represented to me a way of the one thing I could really be in control of, my body, and my mind and spirit as well. But there were so many guys in there, and they just look at it and they're like, yeah, I could just have all this like crappy food and just let myself go, who cares? But to me, it was like, I'm asking myself, what can I do every day to just continuously push myself forward? You obviously don't have access to like real gym equipment, so I just had to use all these body weight exercises and create these punishing workouts that I would do with myself and a couple people that I trained with, to just continue getting stronger every single
Right.
day.
Okay, okay. And so let's just talk about your business in a moment.
Yep.
What we're going to do is just have a short interlude and have some advertisements, and then we will come back and talk about your movement
Okay.
into your freelance web development work.
Relax in the coaching lounge and engage with compelling, motivational speakers. Be prepared to transform your inner world, to shape your outer world through empowering discussions. Tune into thecoachinglounge.co.uk now.
I'm Rebecca Gordon. I'm your host in the Coaching Lounge, and I'm joined by Clint Warren, who has just told us about his movement from crime, from destructive habits, into a state where he became a slave to good habits. And what Clint did was that he did meditation, he practiced gratitude, he developed a physical fitness program which enabled him to do his time in a way which supported his movement towards being a business owner. So, Clint, let's just talk about that now. Tell us about what happened as a result of your movement, your business plan. You were telling us about your business plan.
Yeah. So, well, before I went into prison, I had a year and a half to get my head on straight, and with a pending prison sentence, your options are pretty limited. It's not like I could apply to a job. So, what I did is I taught myself web design and began to solicit, find clients to help with their websites. So, I
You
worked with.
sorry, you could
Yep.
do that whilst in prison?
Oh, no, no, no.
Oh,
this was prior, prior to prison,
all
because,
right. Okay. Yes.
yeah. So I built up that business very quickly because I just worked with a real tremendous sense of urgency because it represented to me, a way to build a reputation that I never really had. And it
Yeah.
was exciting for me. I felt like a person of
Yeah.
value.
I mean
And
that is the importance of setting timescales and deadlines, isn't it? To have
yeah, yeah,
motivation.
totally. It gave me structure in my life. I felt like I was really contributing. I mean, the holy intersection is, the three things: something you're good at, something that pays you, and something you love to do. And in web design represented that for me. So I was terrified that when I then had to go to prison, that I was going to get out and have to start completely from scratch. I let all my clients know I was going out of town and I would have limited access to phone or email for a while. Um,
Okay.
but what I did is I took my love of teaching, because as I'd build sites for people, I'd show them how to use them, and I wrote this business plan in prison, for this educational business. And I also, I should mention here for the self improvement, I visualized the first workshop every single day on my bunk, down to the cut of my pants and everything, and the
Right.
faces on the students.
Yeah.
So within 2 months of getting out, I had sold like 26 tickets for my first workshop,
Oh,
and
fantastic.
just really continued, um, to hustle
Yeah.
and build the business, and contribute as much as I could.
Yeah, you're a man on a mission,
Totally,
right? Yeah,
totally.
I mean, it's certainly an excellent role model of the fact that it is possible to get through an adverse situation.
Yeah,
Sometimes we do feel stuck in it. So, and the
absolutely.
visualization, you gave energy,
Yep.
by actually pinpointing all the things that you could envisage happening.
Yeah,
Great.
that
Yeah.
that was, I can't emphasize enough to your viewers, even if it's 2 minutes a day, know where you're going, but visualize it. I've repeated this process for so many massive achievements that I've had in such a short period of time. If people ask, how do you do all this? I visualize it. By the time I've done it, it's already happened 50,
Right.
hundreds of times in my head.
Yeah.
I'm already moving on to the next thing.
Yeah,
So,
just creating that picture. Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, can you share any alternative strategies? Because we do have different learning styles, so
Yep.
it might be challenging for someone to visualize. What else could you suggest?
Yeah, so I mean, with that, I struggle. Everyone has a different modality that is sort of their preference, or a different sense. So I would say if you struggle with actually visualizing, use the sense that you prefer. So, for example, I would like to, within a year, be up on stage in front of thousands of people delivering some sort of motivational workshop, and it's in my head. I'm visualizing it. You have to really use every sense. So if you are more of an auditory person, imagine those people clapping. Imagine what it feels like to stand there. Imagine feeling the confidence, your heart racing with, your excitement. It doesn't necessarily have to be strictly visualizing in that sense.
Mm,
But really, what I do is I write it out. I get write, like a page or two, drilling into every sense. How does it taste? How does it feel? Do I feel the heat of the lights coming down on me? And am I like sweating a little bit? Um, so
right.
however you can hold that image in your mind, it's a
Mm,
very powerful exercise.
right. So you really move into that feeling,
Yeah.
that being in that situation. Okay,
Yes.
great, great. Okay. I'm interested to know about your mission and your purpose,
Yep.
yes?
Yep.
And if you can just talk to me a little bit about that,
Sure.
and what is your mission? What's your purpose? What drives you?
Yeah, so I thought about this a lot, and I guess one of the benefits of prison is that you have a lot of time to really reflect. And I should say one other thing too. One of the biggest benefits, hands down, of prison that I've tried to take with me out of it is you go in there and you have access to no technology, and you realize how quickly I'm so focused and present. Like I'm sitting and talking with people who are looking me in the eye and they're not checking their phones and
Mm,
stuff. I'm
yeah.
not like bombarded by email and I feel a phone vibrate in my pocket. So I had time to really sit and think. And one of the exercises that was really powerful was writing out my funeral and imagining my funeral and imagining what people are saying about me. How do you want to be remembered? Um, And at the core of it, I really feel like my mission and purpose is to just bring out the absolute best in myself in order to inspire other people to do the same, whether it's through writing, teaching, speaking, whatever I can. And I feel that it's most important to do that through leading by example. And I really feel that we're at such a critical juncture in human history where there's so much misinformation and lack of understanding, confusion, and most of all, like a general lack of leadership, that we need some people just to show us the way. And I know that personally in my life, I found such a better way to live in every area of my life from how I used to be. And the people that I've worked with have experienced the same kind of things. And we have all this this amazing gift of life that I really believe, like, this is it, man. Like, we don't get a second chance at
We
this.
don't get a second
This is
chance,
the
no.
most amazing, beautiful thing in
Yeah.
the entire world. And to think that I was wasting it, it hurts. But I feel like I have this urgency now because I'm making up for that. But I feel like it's my mission to give people in some way that sense of urgency. I would never wish anyone went through what I went through to get there, but I want to help give people the tools that they can use. One of my
Yeah.
favorite quotes, I'll try to read it without getting choked up. It's Marianne Williamson, A Return to Love. And so our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We're all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And as we're liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
That's beautiful, isn't it? It's very
Yeah, love
powerful,
that.
tremendously powerful.
Yeah.
Yes. So, you've mentioned that your mission, your purpose here is to help others get through, their challenges.
Yep.
So, can you tell us, before you went into prison, you've been working with people since you've come out of prison. I'm interested to hear some of your success stories as a result of your energy and your intervention to support someone through their challenge.
Yeah. So, I work with a very wide range of people. I have now a lot of people who reach out to me. And what's funny is that, like, I don't necessarily do this as a business. It's really, I would do it completely for free. And that's mostly what I do. So I've had a blog for a long time. And I was originally writing to get business for web design. And then there was a shift where I started writing about tools for personal development, meditation, things like that. And I started having people like reach out to me. And an example is a guy a couple months ago who's a wealth management guy for a very prestigious U.S. bank, and he saw me speak at I did a free workshop at a library on how to build a consulting business.
Right.
And what I started doing is I just said, you know what, I'm just going to tell my story. So when people are, in the beginning of the talk, I said, I got into consulting because I got arrested for trafficking marijuana. I've done everything I can to move on from it. And this is my story. And here's how you can build a consulting business. And I started having people reach out and ask, well, I'm at a point where I have some stuff in my past, that I struggle with, or this and that. So I just started offering people, if they want to come to my office and sit down with me, I'll work with them. And if I have the time, do whatever I can to help them. So I've helped people who are struggling with, some severe drug and alcohol problems. Those sometimes can be some of the toughest people, because my experience has been in some cases that people want someone very much to talk to but are not willing to take action. So I have to be pretty selective, because I have to protect my time a little bit too. But I
Right.
really try to work with people who if I know they're going to take action, I will give them all the time that they need,
Right.
tools that they need. So,
Yeah.
it's been everyone from younger kids, high schoolers who their parents meet me and then they put me in touch with the kids, and the kids don't even realize what kind of path they're headed in. And I'll sit with them and say, look, dude, like,
Mm.
believe me, I've been down that path. And I definitely thought when I was your age, I was invincible too. And there's other options and routes, and you don't want to have to live through what I have. Up to older people who, in some ways, and it's very flattering, I guess, in a sense, that I would have the opportunity to talk with these people. I kind of, I look at myself from just some normal guy who, came out the other side, but, I'll share with them just techniques and stuff like that, whether it's through meditation, journaling, to help improve their lives and, find some comfort and peace and ways to improve.
Right, okay. You've mentioned in that recount that amongst the people you've worked with, you said you went and you did this free workshop, and
Yep.
you spoke about your consultancy. You said that some people came to you and said, "I've got stuff in my past,"
Yep.
and that could be one thing that really does hold people back. They're so attached, to
Yep.
the trauma, attached to the negativity, attached to the destructive habits that
Yep.
they just become so stuck. So,
Totally.
can you share a technique that can help someone to work, so listening to you now in this show, in the
Yep.
coaching lounge, that they can try themselves to support them to, move from that attachment?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing that I do every day is I do affirmations every day. And I think it's very important for us to understand what our limiting beliefs are, first of all, because a lot of times they're very subconscious. I'll give a good example of myself. I struggled a lot, even after I got sober and everything, with binge eating,
All right.
and it was sort of a manifestation of that addictive personality. I mean, I would drive out to like Dunkin' Donuts and like get, I don't know if you have Dunkin' Donuts in England, but it's
Yeah,
a donut shop, pastries. I'd eat like a dozen donuts and then go eat a ton of ice cream.
that is a lot of donuts.
Oh, it was disgusting. I would get sick, and I would get so upset with myself because I would feel so defeated, and I was in that same mindset of when I was, an addict of like being very sneaky and going out and feeling so defeated, like, why can't I stop this? I'll never be able to stop this. So when I was setting goals for myself where like I want to have a certain body weight and look and feel a certain way physically, subconsciously, I had this limiting belief that, wasn't shouting at it, but it was saying like, well, you can't control your eating, so you're never going to be like that. Now, until I specifically addressed that limiting belief and cleared that, I wasn't able to move forward and get past that. And exactly how I did it was I stand in the mirror every day. And it's a little uncomfortable the first time you're doing it,
Yes.
trust me. But I have all these affirmations that I recite.
Mm.
So one of them was that every day I make the smartest choices and I'm disciplined and focused with my eating. And that everything I put in my body is a choice to move me closer to perfect health and happiness. And I am disciplined and focused in my eating. And I repeat that morning and evening along with a ton of other affirmations.
Right. I love those affirmations. Can you repeat them right now, please, Clint?
Yeah, do you want my full affirmation list? I could give you a couple.
Yes, please. That's
Yeah, hold on.
fantastic.
Let me. I have it. I have them here. So one of them, and you'll kind of see how some of them one of them is I'm a genius and I apply my wisdom. And I don't say that in a non-humble way. It's like you just you're empowering yourself. The
Right.
thoughts that you put in your head every day, you have to manufacture this enthusiasm and positivity. And this is the way that I start my day. Really doing that. So my relationship with my girlfriend is the most loving relationship any man or woman has ever had. I am the luckiest man in the world to have such an amazing woman in my life. I am a confident, knowledgeable, and persuasive salesman. New business flows easily to me, and clients understand that I am the best person they could possibly work with. I am a powerful, qualified, amazing leader and manager. I can effectively delegate tasks and train employees. I inspire them, bring out the best in them. I treat them well and build an amazing future for them. I
Mm.
am lean and healthy, and my eating is disciplined and focused. I radiate strength, power, happiness, and abundance. I create my own reality. Everything I visualize and focus on happens. I create new habits regularly that continuously push me closer to my reality. Anything I dream of is possible. Anything I dream can come true as people gravitate towards me and we build our visions together. I'm spiritually connected with all living beings and provide value to the universe. I'm compassionate, caring, patient, and kind. My agency can handle any type of project and produces the most amazing online experience ever. Um, I am a compassionate, loving, caring individual who brings light, joy, laughter, and inspiration to those around me.
And as you're reading those, the energy just feels very light and vibrant, and like you really just want to go out and, feel these things. Really.
That is exactly it. I mean,
Yeah.
you're convincing yourself, you're
Yes.
putting yourself, the more you're repeating this to yourself, the more that you believe it. You don't
Right.
necessarily have to believe this stuff right away.
Yeah.
And it sounds, some people listening may be like, oh, it's such a silly exercise. I tell you from the bottom of my heart, this is one of the most powerful things that you can do every
Yeah.
day. It takes 2 minutes.
And
you
it
know,
works. It does work, doesn't it?
absolutely,
Yeah. And
absolutely,
Anthony Robbins is an advocate of great energy. So move your body when you're saying these affirmations.
absolutely.
Now, Clint, can I borrow a few of those, please?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Fantastic. And at this point, I'm sure listeners may want to, really spend some time listening again through this recording and pausing and noting down some of these affirmations,
Yep,
because, whatever you're going through, these will help you to get through, your challenges.
yep.
So we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be talking to Clint a little bit more about any advice he can offer, and about the position of his business now and where he sees that going. So let's just take a short break, and we'll be back on the other side. We commit to helping you accelerate your success through coaching and training. When you work with us, you can expect to have massive achievement in your personal and professional life. Visit www.satellitelifecoachingandtraining.com, choose your slot for your free discovery coaching session, and start your transformation today. My name is Rebecca Gordon, and I'm here with Clint Warren, who has he's given us the go-ahead to use some of his fantastic and wonderful affirmations that will certainly support the transformation of your life from great to magnificent. So, Clint, what I'm going to do now is just ask you. I mean, you've given us so much. You've given us
Yep.
so much today, and you've said this is what you're about. You're about giving. You're about helping people through, their transitions. And I'm finding what you're saying so inspirational.
Thank you.
I'd like you, yes, because touching on prison, touching on men and women in prison, touching on some of the things that lead to us, lead to people,
Yep.
experiencing that. It could be drugs, it could be, some people are sex workers, any sort of crime that takes us into that lifestyle. What would you say to someone who's involved in a destructive lifestyle? They may not know it right now. It could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be anything else. What would you say to them about how they can find meaning in their life?
Um, One of the things for me, first of all, it's tough because I deal with this a lot where a parent will approach me and say, my son or daughter has drug and alcohol issues. Can you help them? And I can speak from my experience in that I had a lot of people reach out to me and tell me I had drug and alcohol issues, and I told them to go,
Right, yes,
get out of
yes.
my way.
Because
Um,
very much people are in denial. They don't want to admit, where they're
yeah,
at. Yeah.
they're in denial and they may enjoy it. Drugs put me through a lot, but there are a lot of, at that point in my life, I really looked forward to it. It was my escape. It's what I loved to do. But ultimately, even after drugs and alcohol had been lifted or removed, what really was helpful in finding my mission and purpose was trying everything.
Mm,
So last month I had 21 speaking engagements, and I first started speaking a couple of years ago on the topic of web design. Prior to that, I hadn't spoke since like high school, which is, when I was like 16 or younger than that. And I was terrified of public speaking. People see me now and they say, wow, you're such a natural speaker. And I say, that's not true. I just worked really hard and practiced at it. I would have never have known that how much I enjoyed speaking and sharing up in front of people unless I just tried a bunch of stuff. I would have never known how much I enjoyed martial arts or web design unless I just tried a bunch of things. You never know what you're going to find that you enjoy that really could make you want to change and really become focused and passionate about something. Until you try a lot of stuff. Same with with yoga. And actually, when I was really bad into drugs, one of the things that I credit with saving my life was Bikram yoga. The first time I tried it, it was the first time that I had this somewhat semblance of inner peace that I had always struggled and looked for from external sources. And for a while, it sort of alleviated some of the real deep darkness of my addiction. So the other thing too, if you're in a tough spot, if you do recognize that you have the problem, recognize also that it is a choice.
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's the hardest thing. I mean, looking back, I would think to myself, it was this mindset of, I'm a victim, I am cursed with this affliction. I look at that now as that is the best gift I could have in the world. And the reason I say that is because I can approach things with such intensity and focus, because I can approach them with that addictive mindset. So I shifted my thinking from, oh, this is a curse, to this is the best gift I could possibly have. I can do things with so intensely as long as I stay on the right track and stay away from the things that will hurt me.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is like the biggest thing that I always tell people is, there in anything in life, there is never anything wrong with reaching out and asking for help. You have such an amazing gift. I just wish that I had known that before I got to some of the points that I was at. I didn't know who to turn to, and a lot of times people are very embarrassed or scared, and I think that's partly why some people ask me, aren't you uncomfortable about sharing so openly about your past? And I say no, because I know that by doing so, it might encourage someone else to open up too and not be as ashamed
Yeah.
of some of the things they might be struggling with.
Because really, we don't know what we don't know, you know.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
sometimes, yeah, there's an assumption that, okay, we think somebody should know, but there's no reason why that person should. So,
Yeah.
I think it's a brave thing, to actually ask for help, and we really do need to be doing more of that. But you've spoken about choices. You said, you made some regrettable decisions, but it is that our life is made up of the decisions that we make, really,
Absolutely.
which that's why we need to keep ourselves physically fit, mentally, spiritually,
Totally.
emotionally,
Yeah.
so that we can, make optimal decisions.
And that's that ties back to this book that I read recently. It's by Jeff Olson. It's called The Slight Edge. And basically the premise of the book is that in every area of our life, mind, body, spirit, business, every action that we take every single day is either moving us closer to that person that we want to be, or further away. And it's those small, tiny daily acts of discipline that move us closer to that ideal, and those tiny acts of neglect that move
Yeah.
us further away.
Right. Can I ask? I'm feeling that I want to ask, and it's not about the people that you work with,
Yep.
but I want to ask because, when you were in that life of crime, etc., in your previous life,
Yep.
and you've changed, you've come through.
Yep.
What's the relationship? How did the relationship between the people you were connected with before? I mean, what do they think? What did they think of you? Because sometimes it's about the peer pressure as to why people remain in
Right.
their situation, isn't it? Could
Right.
be.
Yeah, I mean, I cut off all ties with everyone. I recognized that was pretty critical, so I changed my phone number and everything, and
Right.
that
Okay.
was it. I had to change my environment Totally.
Yeah. So effectively, you started from a blank slate, really.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
that was really important. It's funny because occasionally, I've actually, changed my location. I moved and everything. I There's been a couple times where my paths have crossed with people, and it's like they don't even recognize me.
Okay.
They're like, "Oh my God!" Like I saw you in like a three-piece suit. Like what's last I heard you were in prison, and I'm like, "Yeah,
Right.
doing
Yeah.
all right."
Okay, no, that's great. That's great to
Yeah.
hear, because I mean, this is what our life is about. It is about movement, isn't it? It's not
Yes.
about remaining the same. We are here for a specific reason. And once we know what that reason is or have some idea, it's to just do all we can to move along with that. And the book, The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson,
Yeah.
that is now on my reading list. So thank you very much. Okay.
Totally.
So, in the last few minutes, then, Clint, I'm really enjoying this interview. I want to ask you about your aspirations for your business. I mean, certainly, I'm hearing the great evolvement. What's
Yeah.
next?
Uh, well, that's a great question, and that's something that I struggle with a little bit because, well, I'll tell you why I struggle with it. I realize my mission and calling is, to help people, to write, to teach, to speak, to share my story and help other people, learn the tools and strategies to bring out the best in themselves. And I really feel like I said, we're at this critical juncture that someone has to pass down this information and lead people. And I feel like that's my mission. Now, at the same time, my web design agency is really doing well. We're really taking off. But internally, I feel this tension that says you need to focus on your calling. And your calling is not to build a big web design agency. That's at the end of the day, if I was making, $5 million and had thousands of clients every day as a web designer, I know deep down in my heart that I would not be fulfilled doing that. I know if I was making $5,000 a year, but reaching millions of people and changing their lives, like what I work for now, the one thing that motivates me is the thank you notes on my wall. Because
Right.
I get thank you notes from people that write to me and say, I read your blog post and it changed my life. I can't thank you enough. And that means more than to me than anything, any, big project or anything like that. So
I see.
what's next is things like this, just finding ways to just share my story and let people know that, despite all odds, no matter what you're going through, I can personally attest you have the chance, not 10 days from now, not a year from now, right now. Just like that moment for me in prison where I said to myself, you know what? This is the moment, and I'm turning, and from this day forward, I am moving in a different direction. You can do that right now. You can do it the second you're listening to it and say, this is it. There's going to be twists and turns. And I always like the analogy of the rocket that went to the moon. Uh, it was off course about 98% of the time. But that internal gyroscope, as long as you're moving in a good direction, you can and will be off course.
That's
But
right.
as long as you have your eyes on that ideal, and you're making the right choices and living a good life, you're going to be, it's amazing.
Mm.
And that said, I also want to say, for your audience, I'm packaging a lot of all the tools and strategies into a free ebook that I'll give away to them if they want to
Fantastic.
just grab a
Yes.
copy of all the affirmations and everything. So
Okay.
if
So
they,
how can we be in touch with you? How can the audience be in touch with you, the listeners?
yeah. So if you go to Clint, CLINT, Warren, WARREN.com /Rebecca,
Okay.
and
Right. Yeah.
they will be able to grab a copy. And
Fantastic.
if they want to get in touch with me or email anything, if they just go to clintwarren.com and they go to the contact form, they can
Right.
get in touch with me.
Okay. And Clint, is that the affirmations that you've just read out today?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
It's the affirmations. It's the visualization strategy. It's
Right.
removing limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
It's everything. I
Okay.
guarantee that if you apply that stuff,
Yeah.
it's going to have a real significant impact.
Okay. I mean, this show is going out to a UK audience, and we do have some international listeners
Awesome.
far afield, from Africa to the Caribbean, also to Eastern Europe. So I know that people will be logging on to clintwarren.com/Rebecca to get their tools that will help them to get through, this moment. Okay.
Yes.
And you're on
Thank you.
Facebook and Twitter?
I'm actually not
You're
really. I
not.
mean, you know what's funny is I just love to connect with people on a personal level. I always
Yeah,
recommend people, email me, call me, whatever.
right.
I think I have links to my Facebook. Yeah, yeah, if they want to connect, if they go on my clintwarren.com page at the bottom, you can
Yeah,
connect with me on Facebook and
I
Twitter.
see.
Maybe that will give me more of a
Yes.
reason to use it.
Okay, so Clint, when are you coming over across the pond to visit us here in lovely UK?
I would so much love to, but I actually have some travel restrictions as part of my
All
probate.
right, because I was going to say, I mean, it'd be great to just have you live in
I would
front of an
love
audience,
that.
wouldn't it?
I'll tell you what, Rebecca, one of my first stops, because my restrictions will be lifted probably a year from now.
Right.
I will make my commitment right here, right now, that one of my first stops when I am able to leave the country is to come visit you and buy you
Okay.
buy you dinner and sit down and talk life and philosophy and all.
Well, we will do more than that. We'll arrange an audience for you
Cool.
so that we can do that together
Cool.
at
That'd be
in a
fantastic.
setting of a seminar or something like that.
I love that.
Okay, superb. Well, Clint, I'm confident that you're going to be with us again in the coaching lounge at some point in the future. Just to explore a little bit more specifically, I wanted to talk to you about your fitness program,
Absolutely.
just to
Love that.
delve deeply into that, because that needs to be a part of our routine, I think. So,
Sure.
I mean, the time has gone so quickly today.
Yeah.
But just to say thank you so much. And
My pleasure.
I have got a lot from this interview myself. I love the affirmations. I will be getting my own copy of the free ebook. And
Definitely.
yeah, certainly, I wish you well. And thank you so much for the great work that you're doing to support people,
Thank
to
you.
transform.
Thank you,
Okay.
Rebecca. I really appreciate the opportunity.
You're welcome, Clint. Thank you. Take your place in the coaching lounge. Be inspired by discussions with motivational guests, compelling speakers, key people of influence, and models of success. Learn unique processes, strategies, and tips that will transform your life. Tune into previous episodes on www.thecoachinglounge.co.uk. Like our page on Facebook via The Coaching Lounge. Follow us on Twitter @SatelliteCoach. Thank you for joining your host, Rebecca Gordon, in The Coaching Lounge. Tune in, relax, engage, and transform your life now.